I thought things were going to start slowing down as far as research goes and outlooks and whatever, but oh, man. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to start getting outlooks from all the institutions for the week ahead and a lot for the month ahead because the monthly outlooks actually come out around this time too. So there's going to be a lot of work to do over this weekend. And today was also quite a bit of work. There's a lot of news that was broke today. A lot of commentary from a lot of different places. And I'm hoping to tie it in with as many different charts as I can because Lord knows going through all this geopolitical mess can be distracting if the music is too loud. Anyways, yeah. Music was a little bit too loud, but yeah. The geopolitical stuff that's going on right now with Iran and Kurds and everyone's responses to it politically. And then I want to go over some Balkanization risks and civil war risks that are going on over there as well that we need to be aware of that could potentially develop. And then there's also some updates for the Russian-Ukraine war. There's plenty of updates for the Strait of Hormuz. And if we look at the charts, especially if we go and we check out oil, and I'll go ahead and switch over to the charts now. Man, we crossed the $80 handle. We crossed into the 80s. Man, I was expecting the positive drift, but I wasn't expecting this big of a jump. This is a 5% move so far just on the day today. This is pretty big. So if we keep going at this pace, and let's assume that things continue to move towards getting resolved within the next 2 weeks, before all of these oil storage facilities top off in the Middle East within the next 2 weeks. So long this stuff can get resolved, then we should see oil start to go back down or at least maintain its current posture here. There was some rerouting before getting into all the nitty-gritty in the news. There was some rerouting. I saw an announcement from Saudi Arabia. They were now moving oil from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea, so to the other side of the country, in order to actually ship it. Oh, man. So, yeah. Let me know if you're here. Let me know if you're tuning in. Let's go ahead and see how many people we can get in today and how many people will come in and say hi. And, man, tomorrow is the Friday show. So everyone is going to be able to hop into Discord voice chat when that stream goes live and say hi and ask questions in the stage on Discord. So that'll be nice. And then that will be the last, probably the last stream. I don't want to have to go every day streaming, but you know what? If there's new, more significant breaking news that comes in on Saturday and Sunday, guess who's going to be streaming again? Oh, man. I just want to play that damn cat game. And I still haven't played the Ultra Kill update. I heard it's pretty fun. Thank God I haven't got any spoilers. Probably because I'm on my X account with all the geopolitical accounts that I follow and not my X account with all the gaming X accounts that I follow. Okay. Trying to delay not going into this because, man, it's a lot of stuff. You know, let's kick this off with just stuff going on with the Strait of Hormuz, just because we're looking at crude right now. So let's exit out of full screen here. We'll skip this for now. Looking at the situation around the Strait of Hormuz, it's reported that Iranians have launched an attack on an oil tanker off the coast of Kuwait, which is what likely sent us higher here on this chart, going up, 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 like so. Right, this is probably what caused that. And you can see, I believe that's the... It seems like it's some kind of attack boat. That's the actual video of the attack. Iran, for the first time, used an unmanned surface vehicle, USV. In the current war, footage suggests an unmanned boat attacked an oil tanker off the coast of Kuwait. And you can see there's the hole in the side of the boat. I will say, thankfully, it's just one boat, and it's only been one attack so far. And a lot of attacks have been deterred so far. So the fact is, maybe just a handful of boats have been hit so far, and hopefully those boats can get repaired and come back online ASAP, because what we do not want is an economic crisis. Yes. Yes, yes. Oh my god, this is now... Yeah, you're right. This is now day number 6 in a row, because I started doing the streams, the daily streams, last Friday. Yeah, last Friday I started. So tomorrow will be a full week since all the shit hit the fan with Iran, and I had to start doing daily streams to cover everything. Because if you're not covering it day to day at this moment, any little bit of news can come in and totally swing the markets the other way, just like what's happening right now with oil. The next bit is this thing from Kepler, European LNG pressure. Kepler Insight expects European gas prices to remain supported. So we can do TTF and check out what the TTF looks like. Oh, it's been going pretty sideways today. The TTF has it's had its rise after the attack, right? So right here, this is February 29th, the day before the attack. Here's the day of the attack. Or when market opened after the attack on March 2nd. And then it's continued to rise, and now it's fallen a little bit, and it's holding at 50. And they expect gas prices to remain supported for at least the next 2 months as disruptions to Qatari LNG supply impact deliveries to the continent and boost inter-basin competition. Underground storage levels in the EU at 30% full in early March, amplifying the impact of ongoing supply disruptions. Qatar supplied 9.2, I think, metric tons, MT. Might be getting that unit incorrect, of LNG to the EU and UK in 2025, around 8% of total LNG exports, with, get this, we'll be touching on this point later, with Italy being the most directly affected. However, Europe's interconnected gas network means any disruptions can ripple across the continent. So let's go ahead and check out this. Yeah, the big red bar right here, that's Italy. As far as UK LNG import from Qatar, UK and the other 27 EU states. And then regasification capacity held in Qatar Energy or subsidiaries in Europe. Okay, let's go on to the next bit here. Middle East conflict, oil and gas market implications, a continuing assessment as the situation in the Middle East develops at pace. Our analysts will keep you updated with real-time data. This is as of today. LNG infrastructure status and vessel positioning in the region. Oh, so this is just a report, a live stream. Gotcha. we can go on to the next bit there. This is on oil shortage risks. Oil markets have moved quickly to price a Hormuz shock, but the plumbing looks less suited to a long siege. Still, shortage constraints are forcing the issue. Satellite estimates suggest Iraq's southern export chain could approach saturation in under 3 days. They are the country at the most risk based off the charts we saw in yesterday's stream. They are at the most risk of topping off their storage facilities sooner more than anyone else if tanker access stays constrained, raising the odds for broader shut-ins across the Gulf if disruptions drag on. The base case is a contained conflict and gradual normalization from this week on, with risk premium fading into late March or mid-April, though tail risks remain asymmetric, especially if there's more attacks from the Islamic Republic. And then this is just interesting. LNG shipping rates went from $40,000 to $300,000 a day. And then there's this little people. Oh, the cute little people. LNG right now. Look at him doing his little trading. Market, yeah, number one market maker, LNG market makers right now doing probably pretty well, yeah. That's a cute little picture, yeah. I'm gonna like that one, and I'm actually gonna copy that and post that in the Discord. Cute little people. That's a nice little find. And then Finch also agrees with that earlier estimate, probably closer to end of March. Fitch on Middle East aviation disruption. Baseline expectation that Middle East conflict will last less than a month. Now, these are the guys who do U.S. credit agent credit ratings. These are the guys who come to that conclusion. Now, whether or not you trust them and you like their credibility or not on their own, whether now you trust their credit ratings, kind of is, it's not totally irrelevant, I'll say, but we still have to look at when these large institutions move their targets. Because when institutions start moving their targets, it can shift sentiment and expectations along with them. So if more banks in the United States start setting economic expectations along these lines that we've seen so far with, everything's going to normalize by the end of March economically, it might not politically, but economically, then the more people who hop onto that bandwagon, the higher the expectation will be for that. And I'm going to stay on a bit more of the pessimistic side because I am more concerned after looking at more and more content. I'm kind of concerned about Balkanization in Iran. And hello, Harold. I see you. Hello. Getting a wave back. Hello. Alrighty. And China may fend off negative economic ramifications using Russian gas. So we can go back to the gas chart here. So back in 2025 on September 2nd, so like beginning of the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter, Russia and China sign major new gas pipeline deal. And then yesterday, Putin says Russia may halt gas supplies to Europe. So when we were talking about that announcement, when we were looking at that announcement live with Putin going up to the reporter and saying, well, we are considering potentially, instead of waiting for Europe to stop importing gas in 2 months from now, to just shut it off right now and send the gas somewhere else, which implies that they have another customer, someone who is willing or able to actually take the gas. And we speculated, well, it's got to probably be India or China, and in this case, I really still wouldn't be surprised if it was India or China still. Supplies. Saudi Arabia has rerouted oil. So this is what I was mentioning earlier at the beginning. Saudi reroutes oil as Gulf shortage. Its limits. Saudi Arabia is diverting millions and millions and millions and millions from yesterday's trade, right? Millions and millions of barrels from the Persian Gulf to Red Sea ports to keep exports flowing amid the Iran war, which has filled regional storage. 5 VLCCs, which are the type of ships that carry oil across the sea, have already shipped 10 million barrels from Yanbu this month, 3 times February's pace. So Yanbu's one of the ports. Other Gulf producers face mounting storage shortages if the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked. Tanker bottlenecks have forced Iraq to cut output, and they are sending it now from the Persian Gulf to, they're considering sending it to somewhere else. They have to figure it out. While Brent hit $80 a barrel amid global supply stress. So they're talking over here, they're talking about this hitting $80 a barrel. And these are the rates. This is the exact same chart we were looking at yesterday. So Iraq shutting down is pretty likely. But this is why we have the 2-week time frame as our expectation. Effectively, by the end of next week, things have to be mostly back on the up and up as far as getting tankers and nat gas tankers and shipping containers, just getting the ports reopened and getting the gas and the oil out of these ports. And a lot of that's going to depend on the frequency and the frequency and capabilities of Iran's missiles and their attacks. We'll go into it a little bit later. I have some stuff on that we can cover. But these are generally the days we have to wait. Now, the Saudis are really safe. And now that they've done this rerouting, they have about 2 months to kill here before they start seeing really bad problems on their own. So it's mostly these other countries that have 2 weeks to figure stuff out, and hopefully by the end of next week, all the missiles will stop, or at least 99.99% of all the missiles being launched will finally stop. That is the main concern, is the missiles. So we'll have to see. Hopefully there's really, really, really good news next week on this in that regard. There is another place where a lot of countries that need oil can get oil, especially for Europe. And there are 2 countries really mad right now at Ukraine. So this is, I believe, the Prime Minister of Slovakia. And he's saying, hey, Zelensky isn't allowing us to send our oil to Europe. And this is a whole 7-minute video, so we're not going to watch it. We're just going to read the headline and move on. And then Orban in Hungary is saying the exact same thing. And he did a whole signing at his desk. He did a whole other video talking about it, saying, hey, there's this oil blockade in Ukraine, and Hungary wants to send oil through this thing called the Friendship Pipeline. It's not very friendly, it seems.
Győzni fogunk, és erőből fogunk győzni.
We will win, and we will win by force. I'm reading the transcript. We have political and financial tools, and with these we will compel them unconditionally and preferably as soon as possible to reopen the Friendship Oil Pipeline. Yes, we are so friendly. We are such good friends that you're gonna shut off this pipeline, and we're going to, in a very friendly way, get you to reopen it in a very heavy-handed diplomatic way, because you also heavy-handedly diplomatically shut off the pipeline. So now it seems like there's a bunch of countries butting heads right now with Ukraine about this pipeline, because now there's a much more there's a higher sense of urgency in actually getting oil to Europe. Because the Middle East can't quite move the oil right now. So these countries want to take advantage of the elevated prices from this and help provide some additional energy security. So we'll see what comes of this, but I'm bringing it up because it's something that we have to watch develop. And these countries are being quite forceful in their rhetoric and diplomacy. And they want this pipeline open. They want that pipeline open. Okay. And yeah, I think when Saudi Arabia started doing the rerouting of their oil, that's what moved this down. It's not always easy to tell. Sometimes it's because there's an attack on somewhere, or maybe it's just price mean reverting. You can't always quite tell what's moving these prices, because you at that point have to line up the times and the dates at when news breaks to times and dates on the chart, and then kind of correlate the release of news to the price movements. Right now, with these big geopolitical movements, it's like, how many times you gotta repeat it, how many times you gotta say it. You gotta follow the damn squawk. If you don't follow the squawk, it's going to be hard to stay up to date on why things, or even why things could be moving. All right, let's go ahead and look at a handful of Trump announcements here. Trump says, the U.S. State Department got 20,000 U.S. citizens out of the Middle East, and this is just a CNN segment going over that. Trump won't accept Khomeini's son as the new leader of Iran, so it seems like the Islamic Republic proposed putting Khomeini's son in charge, and Trump just probably has probably the CIA has a profile on Khomeini's son, and Trump was just handed that profile. Trump looked through a little bit, is like, okay, nope, we're unacceptable, we're not doing this, nope, not good. And then there's actually been ads, supposedly, reportedly, from open source intel here. Iran's state TV hacked again with a message: whoever follows Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the Ayatollah, will meet the same fate. So this is just an ad that's a huge threat that's being spread on hacked Iranian state TV channels. And that is that as far as those announcements go. Now, we're going to get into what's going on the ground. And I'll actually bring up NQ here because things have been getting quite choppy. So just in, and by just in, we're talking about like several hours ago. The Iranian regime's ballistic missile and air defense underground, what is it? The Mavand base has just been struck hard. US and Israel are carrying out jaw-dropping takedowns and Oh, this is the video where that guy says this is like Call of Duty.
می‌بینی صدا انفجارشو؟
من اینا رو فقط تو Call of Duty دیدم.
Call of Duty. Yeah, this is the Call of Duty video. Yeah, this has been going around places under that headline. Okay. And then on top of this, there was another underground base that was bombed. U.S. airstrikes have destroyed a large underground missile storage facility belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Bashir. And just look at that. That is huge. Oh my god. Holy shit. These are huge. Huge explosions. So, there is a missile production site that was also hit and blown up minutes ago. And by minutes ago, we mean several hours ago. The United States and the Israeli Air Force conducted a joint strike against the weapons manufacturing and ballistic missile production facilities in Parchin, eastern Tehran. You can see massive explosions in the area in this footage. Parchin is one of Iran's most sensitive military complexes associated with research, development, and production of rockets, ammunition, and high explosive components linked to the ballistic missile program. And it's all the smoke in the sky that's getting lit up by the explosions. But the video is not very long. And we have more reports of fighter jets are coming in and doing bombing runs. Reports of over 120 fighter jets currently in the skies in Iran, hitting different sites at, what is it, Basij. No, Basij sites. Across Iran, to Iran. Oh boy. It's, guys, you got to tell me what you're thinking about all this. This is just one video after another video after another. All these videos came out this morning. All these videos came out a few hours ago today. It's just one bombing after another bombing after another bombing after another bombing. So how long can the Islamic Republic actually keep up a fight at this rate? Seriously. How long? Because they're already starting to have massive amounts of funerals. Funeral processions like this reflect the large number of IRGC deaths after recent strikes. Families of IRGC members are transferring the bodies of the deceased through street professions for burial, and they are becoming more common. And it's parade for a funeral. Yeah. How long are they actually going to keep this up? Now, obviously, they're going to respond as long as we have to. But that might not be the best decision. This is actually the daughter of the former Iranian president, and she was interviewed somewhere at some point in time. I don't know if this is actually recent or not. But she's saying, hey, Iran committed all these war crimes in Syria and Yemen and killed like 500,000 people. I'm not exactly sure when this interview occurred, but I saw it show up, and yeah, we're gonna keep on moving on because there's a lot to go through still.
Morning.
This is just a reporter saying, hey, look at this recovered Iranian ballistic missile we found.
Right.
Piece of explosive. There are few tens of this submunition inside the warhead. The warhead opens up there and actually spray about few tens of this munition.
Cluster.
It can cover miles on miles, and whenever it hits the ground, it exploded.
Yeah, but no, that's what missiles do. That's what missiles do. All right, let's see here, and then this is actually footage of Qatar's Patriot missile system shooting down what appears to be Iranian missiles. And you can see the Patriot missiles are starting to go up. And pretty soon they're going to be intercepting. Yeah. And this is in Qatar. You can see all the nice hotels they have down there on the ground. Yeah, so it's a pretty clear view. Yeah. So the Patriot missile defense systems are working over there in Qatar. Good for them. And Zelensky claims Russia may be supplying kamikaze drones to Iran. Now, Zelensky is trying to figure out how to jujitsu the situation in the Middle East over to Ukraine. And I've been hammering on that every single stream here. And I said, I think in one of the very early, like the first or the second stream, Zelensky is going to try and be very, very loud and talk as much as he can about connecting the Russians to Ukraine and saying, allying himself with Middle Eastern countries to try and, after they've resolved the situation in Iran, to get that support, get the military action moved on over to the European theater. And he's doing everything he can in his playbook to do that. But until the United States actually says something, it's just Zelensky trying to make his own deals. So Zelensky says, as of today, Russia is not acting as an ally of Iran. Perhaps I would like to, but we have already seen it with Syria, and now we see it with Iran. I believe they simply do not have the capacity for this. All their forces are either buried, the Russians, all their forces are either buried in Ukrainian soil or engaged in the war against Ukraine. I am confident that the Russians are supplying the Iranian regime with weapons. And of course, that's trying to get the United States and European countries to perk their ears up so that then, they go and switch over to attacking the Russians because of that. We understand that they may be providing electronics for Shahed, which are the kamikaze drones. I think all of this is found in the fragments of the Shaheds, which actually there have been drones found with Russian manufacturing drawings, marks, or Russian manufacturing marks on them. Let's see here. If our partners' intelligence services share their information, it will be confirmed because Iranian Shaheds contain Russian-made components. Yeah, we saw lots of pictures of those over last week. This is something we know for certain. What else might Russia supply to Iran? Air defense systems could be provided. They have plenty of those. Yeah. And then in Israel, we're actually getting reports of relaxed restrictions. So this is particularly helpful and particularly useful for us as far as trading goes. Because this is the kind of news we want to see come through. Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport is back in operation, and restrictions on activities and gatherings were relaxed at noon today. This implies that the main fear that has hung over Israel for years, an Iranian saturation attack meant to overwhelm the defenses, has now been averted permanently. And that does seem to be the case at this point. So, in other words, the worst is over. It's not completely over. But to see that the Israelis are okay with allowing people to go out again and go to gatherings again, lifting restrictions on activities, at least initially here, that's extremely good news for helping say, hey, the duration of this war might be within that month time frame, so long we see news like this continue to come through. The expectations from Finch and the other economic analysts alike, those expectations are set to hold. Let's go ahead and continue on here. Okay. A third of... Oh, yeah, this is 1 out of 3, not a third. Iran has continued to launch. So this is now just a bit of analysis on the situation of how many ballistic missiles do the Iranians have. This is the major macro fundamental analysis here. Because this is the number that determines how long the war goes on for. As long as the Iranian regime is able to retaliate and attack, the war will continue, the US bombings will continue, and these other forces, like the Kurds, will continue popping up. Now, Iran has continued to launch a greater number of drones in its attacks as the number of ballistic missile launches continue to fall, which likely reflects the combined forces' success in degrading Iran's ability to launch ballistic missiles. Iran's retaliatory attacks have heavily focused on targeting the Gulf countries rather than Israel. Most of Iran's retaliatory attacks have targeted the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. So you can see Iranian attacks on Gulf countries and Israel since February 28th, and you can see over 1,000 attacks on the UAE and close to 600 attacks on Kuwait. And then in third place is Israel at a little over 200. Well, if Israel was your... maybe the UAE was, in reality, Iran's greatest enemy, because clearly they've sent way more munitions over to them. And then we have a map here. Oh. Okay, I don't want to go to the next post. Can you go away, please? Go away. Whatever. There's some things here in the legend. Strikes, U.S. bases. So there's a strike in Syria. Strikes in Qatar. Strikes in the UAE. Okay, Iranian strikes targeting U.S. bases in the region have caused some material damage and casualties. Damage some parts are of or near communication radar systems. Iran has previously attempted to attack U.S. military communication capabilities. Iranian attacks targeting large energy infrastructure. This is really what we need to be watching here. We can even go back to oil for this. Right? Iranian attacks targeting energy infrastructure in the Gulf have continued to disrupt the regional oil, gas, and international shipping industries. Vessel traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is down by approximately 90% on March 4th. Iran will continue to attempt to disrupt international shipping through the Strait of Hormuz as part of a broader effort to impose a cost on the Gulf states using missiles and drones until the combined force degrades the ability of Iran to do so. Okay. Now we're going to get into the Kurds. Because all these attacks from the Iranians, where is that? I think way up here. Yeah. All these attacks from the Iranians on a bunch of different countries, they're also now attacking the Kurds. And you can see the explosion right there. That was pretty bad. Iranian drones struck a headquarters of the Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iran in the Koya district of the Erbil, Iraq, the east of Erbil, Iraq. Multiple casualties reported. So the Iranians likely heard that the Kurds were in talks with the president, and the Iranians launched a preemptive attack on the Kurds. That seems to be the case here. Washington Post reports conversation about the Kurdish situation with a Kurdish official. Quote, "We are in a very delicate situation, or a very delicate position," says the Kurdish official. "If this Iranian-Kurd ground offensive fails, we do not know what Iran's reaction against the Kurdistan region of Iraq will be. At the same time, we cannot simply reject Trump's request for help in going into Iran, especially when he personally calls and asks for it." So the Kurds are they're supposedly going in, and now that they've been attacked, it might encourage them to go in. A retired U.S. Air Force general gives analysis on Kurdish involvement. Foreign Minister of Iran is freaking out right now, quote, because he knows what we know, which is now that we have done this, gone into Iran, now that we have gone this far, there is no way this regime gets to remain in place any way, shape, or form.
Sailors were struck in international waters without warning. And here comes the big part. Mark.
We're taking the threat seriously. We're doing very well militarily, but we respect the threat. And you're watching a near-perfect military operation underway. The foreign minister of Iran is freaking out because he knows what we know, which is now that we have done this, now that we have gone this far, there is no way this regime gets to remain in place in any way, shape, or form. There's a C-130 resupply.
Iraq from 2010 to
All right, so this is the guy who used to work with the
2012.
Kurds.
White House press secretary, she was Caroline Leavitt. She was asked about Kurdish military forces talking with President Trump, being on the ground. Take a listen to what she said right here, sir.
Yeah, she denied it.
The Trump administration reportedly is considering arming Kurdish forces in the hopes of inspiring a popular uprising in Iran. Could you comment on that report?
I can comment on the fact that the president has held many calls with partners, allies, and leaders in the region, in the Middle East. He did speak to Kurdish leaders with respect to our base that we have in northern Iraq. But as for any report suggesting that the president has agreed to any such plan is completely false and should not be written.
So, RP, what do you make of the denial of those reports? And do you think it is a good idea to arm Kurdish forces if the administration decides to go forward with it?
Oh, I just noticed that headline. Hakeem Jeffries says no explanation for a war.
At this point in the evolution, when you look at the hybrid warfare that we're fighting, she did give the right answer. Keep in mind what the Secretary of War said yesterday regarding this. He said, well, the Department of War isn't involved with anything like that, but maybe some other organizations are. That would be something like the Special Activities Center under the Director of Operations at the CIA. Keep in mind also that the Kurdish diaspora in the region is largely spread from Iraq, Turkey, Syria, and Iran. In Iran, there are 9 to 10 million Kurds, and in Iraqi Kurdistan, maybe 5.5 to 8.5 million. So if you're going to arm them, then you have to follow through with the program.
That's a lot of people to give weapons. That'd be a pretty big operation to give all those people, or at least a good fraction of those people, weapons. And then there was a guy who is in Congress right now in the United States who has actually worked with the Kurds before, and he gives some analysis.
GOP Florida Congressman, U.S. Army veteran Greg Stubbe. Congressman, your reaction to this? It's good to see you, my friend. Is this the beginning of regime change? These are Iranian Kurds who fled to Iraq in prior years. What do you think?
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to work with a lot of the Kurds when I was in Iraq for Operation Iraqi Freedom, and they're an ally of the United States. So to see them taking an offensive posture, they're seeing an opportunity because the United States and obviously the Israelis are attacking there, and they're seeing an opportunity to take up offensive measures. I think that's a great thing for the region. It's a great thing for them to be involved in this, and it helps the overall impact that this coalition that we have put together is having in Iran.
So this would be the first major ground offensive, if the reports are true coming in, first major ground offensive beyond airstrikes. The Kurds have experience battling ISIS. Do you expect the U.S. and Israel will give them air cover?
I think they would. They're an ally of ours. We've worked together for years, just all that in time that the United States was in Iraq. We worked with them. So absolutely, comms would probably be an issue of how we can coordinate. But if they are making an offensive impact into Iran, you could absolutely see the Israelis or the United States provide air cover for them.
Yeah. And then the First Lady of Iraq made a statement actually opposing Kurdish intervention in Iraq, saying, "Leave the Kurds alone. We are not guns for hire," which is kind of interesting. Kurds were urged to rise up against their regime. So she's going through all the history here. More recently, we saw what happened in the northeast Syria, or Rojava, after all the promises that were made after Syria's Kurds stood on the front lines of the war against ISIS. We witnessed they were treated today. The Kurds of Iraq have finally tasted a measure of stability and dignity in life. Because of this, it is very difficult, indeed impossible, for Kurds to accept being treated as pawns by the world's superpowers. Well, I can definitely understand the point of view. I can definitely understand it. There are a lot of Kurds out, not necessarily the First Lady of the Republic of Iraq, but there are a lot of Kurds who have the exact same sentiment. They feel like the United States burned them again and again by exiting the Middle East before they could achieve their own goals. So we'll see how, if they go for it again, or if they'll want some kind of agreement that the United States will stay and who knows, maybe help establish Kurdistan for the Kurds. Just chop off a piece of Iran at the top. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then this here is a big geopolitical analyst account, just going over some expectations for what most people think is going to happen with the Kurds. To clarify, amid the chaos, it is Iranian Kurdish forces who are moving to liberate the main Kurdish province inside Iran. Their objective is to push regime forces out of that province. So not talking about a invasion into Tehran. We're talking about just this province that the Kurds want because it's Kurdish. Their initial plan is to secure Sanandaj and other major cities in the province. after establishing control there, they intend to wait until the rest of Iran is ready to participate in a broader nationwide uprising, which seems quite reasonable on their end. The Iranian Kurdish forces are reportedly receiving air cover from the U.S.-Israel coalition, which is supporting their operations. Now, there's been no official confirmation of any of this, but it's been heavily reported that this is the case, and we will likely see in the coming days whether or not this is true, just by the sheer fact of, does this occur or not? Okay, now we can get into some worldwide responses. We can kind of go over some Balkanization risks. And then I do have some updates about the Israel-Hezbollah conflict. There was a counter-cartel conference held today. The U.S. actually went into Ecuador for some narco-terrorist operations. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, and Trump said Cuba's going to fall, too. Yeah, that's a... I can pull that one up right now because that's the only one that we have on Cuba today.
Very badly.
Might be a bit hard to hear, but he essentially says Cuba's going to fall too. They need help, and he actually points out that they're running out of oil, they're running out of energy, they're running out of food.
Cuba's doing very badly. They're failing. Cuba right now is, to put it mildly, a failing nation. And I've been hearing about Cuba. I said before, since I'm a little boy, I've been hearing about Cuba, and everybody wanted to change. And I can see that happening. Marco Rubio is dealing on it, and at a very high level. And, you know, they have no money, they have no oil, they have no food. And it's really right now a nation in deep trouble, and they want...
Yeah, it might be a little hard to hear, but Trump said they have no money, no oil, no food, and they're going to be in a bit of trouble. So that's that on Cuba. Let's go ahead and actually, you know, we can go through a few of these things here. Azerbaijan was actually hit by a drone after reports that the Azerbaijani military was building up their forces along the border with Iran. And now today the Azerbaijani president is saying, hey, we condemn this, and we're probably going to get more seriously involved here now that we've been attacked. Mm-hmm. Azerbaijan has officially been added to the Wikipedia page as only taking defensive actions now, and as an official belligerent in the war because of this. Australia announces that they're going to deploy military assets into the Middle East. We're going to have to find out more about exactly what they mean by military assets. But it's not just Australia going in. EU foreign minister says that they're also going to go in. The same drones that are attacking Kiev are now attacking our partners in the Middle East. We will explore how we can support drone interceptor production. Well, sounds like you need to go and talk to Palmer Luckey. Maybe pay him a few $1 billion. Update on the UK's Middle Eastern operation. So now this is what the UK is going to be doing policy-wise. The UK will rapidly deploy 4 additional Typhoon jets to Qatar to provide additional regional defensive operations. Overnight, a British counter uncrewed aerial system unit took down further drones in Iraqi airspace that were heading towards coalition forces. And let's just skip this one, it's long. RAF 35B and Typhoon fighter jets supported by Voyager air-to-air refueling flew further defensive sortie overnight, including over Qatar and Jordan. We talk about UK bases, British counter-drone specialists who have worked closely with Ukrainian experts have deployed to the region to work with partners on counter-drone and defensive capabilities. Oof. So that's the update from the UK side. People are still not very happy with Keir Starmer. Farage did a whole press conference today, and this is what he had to say about it.
There is the greatest naval nation on earth, is now unable for up to a fortnight to send a Type 45 to Cyprus to defend, and remember this, British sovereign territory.
Yeah, this is making a lot more people want to support reform and restore at the moment. Let's go ahead. Italian defense minister says Italy is assisting Cyprus. So the Italians are going to be hit the most based on the nat gas situation. Most of the natural gas that came out of Qatar went to Italy. So Italy actually has a huge vested interest in resolving this conflict as quickly as possible and getting natural gas production back online as quickly as possible. And then this is leader of the French opposition, Jordan Bardella, supporting regime change in Iran. Now this is all in French, so I'm just going to read the translation. The mullah's regime is a theocratic Islamist terrorist regime. No one will mourn Ayatollah Khomeini except perhaps Jean-Luc Mélenchon. I hope that the Iranian people, who are a great people, can free themselves from this oppression. And then we also had the Canadian leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, also come out and call for a free Iran.
Yeah, and much is happening in the world today that needs to bind us together. With the authoritarian theocracy in Iran crippled and the Ayatollah dead, we need to join with other free nations. We also need to hope that the Iranians will join the Council of Nations. We support Iranian people's ambition to have a free and democratic country, and we must secure our own borders and our homeland to keep ourselves safe in this dangerous world.
Okay. All good there on that front. Pakistan is actually moving artillery to the Iranian border. And it seems like it's a lot of artillery. Looks like the second phase of the US-Israel op is upcoming. Kurds are attacking Iran from the west. Is Pakistan going to do something on the east? And we looked at that as a risk scenario from the very, very beginning. Because Pakistan is still at war with Afghanistan. So we'll have to see if that war spills over into the Iran operation. And I expect it will, because a lot of the IRGC people who are retreating and fleeing the country are actually going to both Afghanistan and Pakistan, depending on what kind of amnesty they're looking for. Okay. Iraq moving equipment also to their border with Iran. And you can actually see a lot of military equipment, a lot of Humvees moving. Fucking hell. It's truck after truck after truck after truck. Oh, man. More trucks. A lot of vehicles, man. A lot of military vehicles. All right, and now we can get into some balkanization risks. I was looking at this stuff here. There's a group. I saw this post, something about Hawazian Falcons, Hawaz. I kept trying to look up more information about this group, and I kept getting autocompletes for Hawaii, the state in the United States, the island state off the coast, way off in the Pacific Ocean. And I kept looking and looking, and I'm pretty sure maybe this group actually refers to Kazakhstan, because there are these similar uprisings going on in Kazakhstan. A nationalist group in Kazakhstan displayed Kalashnikovs besides a lion and sun flag, saying it awaits orders to overthrow the Islamic Republic. From Kazakhstan to all our compatriots across Iran, we are ready to give our lives for Iran. Foreigners have ruled and occupied our country. We must finish the job ourselves. We are awaiting orders. And for context, there were protests in this area going all the way back to 2022. Right? For anti-regime strikes for a third consecutive day. So this area is known to have anti-regime militants for a long time. 10 days before Operation Epic Fury, there were public memorials in Kazakhstan for the massacred protesters and chants for Reza Pahlavi to return. I mean, this was a big deal. And also, there was a murdered protester also named Reza, and they're chanting, I believe, primarily for him. But you'll see why I mentioned Pahlavi in a second. So this was a huge memorial 10 days before Operation Epic Fury began. At the same time, there are videos calling for Pahlavi's death in Kazakhstan. Yeah. So same area where the protests, where the memorial for the murdered protesters occurred, this is also occurring. The more I learn, the more I think there's a very real chance of civil war. This is, we'll have to see how this develops. Kazakhstan is this is a section at the end of the Persian Gulf in Iran. And it's very, very important because 80% of Iran's oil reserves are in Kazakhstan. The province is also home to the Yadavaran field. So if you want to look at it on a map, this is where it is. Right there, that's the end of the Persian Gulf. These are all the oil fields. I believe in green, this is where all the oil gets pumped in green. Which is a major oil field in itself and part of the disputed Al-Farqa field. Yeah. Kazakhstan holds 80% of Iran's onshore oil reserves, and thus 57% of Iran's total oil reserves, making it indispensable to the Iranian economy. So, thankfully, this is pretty close to the Gulf, so it's, I mean, we're going to have to see how this develops in this particular section of Iran, what develops here. Mario Newfall actually made a really excellent post talking about the Balkanization risks that can come from this. Everyone is focused on Tehran. The real story may be on Iran's borders. Iran is a Persian majority country surrounded by its own resistive minorities. Kurds in the northwest, Baluchis in the southeast, Azeris in the north, Arabs in Khuzestan. For 47 years, the regime used fear of ethnic fragmentation to demand loyalty and crush dissent. The threat is now real. 5 Kurdish armed groups formed an alliance in late February, days before the strike began. The CIA is reportedly backing them. Battle-hardened PKK commanders are pivoting from Syria toward Iran. Baluchi militant factions just merged along the Pakistan border. All of them are watching Tehran's grip loosen in real time. This is the scenario that keeps regional powers up at night. Not a clean regime change. A fragmented Iran with insurgent pockets. Lawless border regions and competing armed factions filling the vacuum left by a decapitated IRGC. Turkey is watching the Kurds. Pakistan is watching the Baluchis. Azerbaijan is watching the Azeris. And Israel is watching all of them. The US and Israel can win every air battle and still produce a Middle East far more unstable than the one that they started with. Iraq 2003 didn't fail because America lost the war. It failed because nobody planned for the morning after. And this is a highlight of all of the groups in Iran. And you can see this is what we were just looking at in the Persian Gulf. This is where all the oil is. This spot right here in pink, or really deep purple right here. So what we don't want to see is the Balkanization of Iran, but even if the Balkanization occurs, really for oil and gas markets, it seems like what most people would care about is this bit of land right here. Now, I'm going to be on the more pessimistic side and say even if Balkanization doesn't occur, there's very likely going to be a lot of infighting, especially with people who are still quite loyal to the Islamic Republic and to the Ayatollah, even if a transitory government is initiated. So this is just a huge shitstorm now. And all these groups are going to either be competing for control over Iran, or the rest of the world will come in and help set up a transitory government so that then all of these groups have some form of representation in the new government. So we will see how that goes. We'll see if that's even feasible. But now it's time to kind of watch what each of these groups are going to try and do now. And then Pahlavi did make a statement to all of these groups. Brave and patriotic Azeris, Kurds, and Lords of Iran, the Honorable Yasan community, to compatriots in Khuzestan, Alam, proud tribes. And then he makes this call for unity and let's set up the transitory government, and I'm willing to come in and set up the transitory government. Now, this is I'll reiterate my main concern. There are groups in Kurdistan and Khuzestan. So if the Kurds and those in Khuzestan start military operations against the Islamic Republic, then Iran could end up balkanized very quickly if the transitory government isn't established, in my opinion. So the Kurds are up here in yellow, this whole area, and the yeah, and then Khuzestan is right here. Man, that covers a lot of land, and a lot of very valuable land. I personally would just like to see everything go down very peacefully, but we'll have to see how the remnants of the Islamic Republic take a transitory government, if they do. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and then this is just kind of pathetic. Former Secretary of State for the United States, Blinken, says one possible off-ramp from the war with Iran is simply declaring victory and leaving. Oh my God, what an idiot. You know, that's kinda what, if you took that advice, you would absolutely end up with a balkanized Iran. You would 100% end up with balkanized Iran. To not help set up any kind of transitory government, at that point, you just invite Russia and China to go into Iran. Just to exit after you just spent all this money and all this operational costs, and the Israelis did. And now the rest of the Western world and all these Arab countries are also going in and contributing to this operation. To just say, oh, we won, and fucking bounce? Oh. Guy's a retard. It's like, oh, let's just give up our position to the Russians and the Chinese. Why the fuck not? And why not just also hand it over to the Pakistanis? Let them do whatever the fuck they want with Iran too. Sure. Get up and leave? What the ugh. Yeah. A lot of the issues from the Obama administration were this guy's fault too. Let's see here. Anything else to bring? I mean, we could go over the Hezbollah stuff. Hezbollah announced 102 dead, 638 injured since Monday. French President Macron went and condemned Hezbollah and offered a bunch of assistance to Lebanon in a huge post here. And then there's Hezbollah military equipment getting confiscated here. A bunch of missile launchers are getting picked up off the side of the road. Like they're getting fucking towed. Hezbollah supporters are actually finding it very difficult to evacuate because just people can't support them. So there's all these people standing out at the beach, just sitting around because they can't really go anywhere. And this isn't even it, by the way. Here are the cars leaving Beirut after Israeli evacuation order. Just huge traffic. And then here's even more footage of the Hezbollah supporters wandering around Beirut. Let's see. It's a huge column of people. And then this is another video. Huge column of people just walking down the street. with all their stuff on their backs, or at least as much of it as they can carry. And sure, why not? We can go over the narco-terrorist stuff too. The U.S. is now in Ecuador fighting narco-terrorists. 2 months after a U.S. invasion of Venezuela, U.S. troops are now on the ground in Ecuador supporting joint operations targeting narco-terrorist groups.
Important development today. The U.S. military is escalating its crackdown on drug trafficking in South America. 2 months after the invasion of Venezuela, officials say the U.S. now has troops on the ground in Ecuador taking part in joint operations against narco-terrorist groups. In a series of raids yesterday, Ecuador targeted a group that officials say was trafficking drugs to Europe.
All right. There also was this big conference, the Counter Cartel Conference, held by the United States Department of War. That's the whole video there, but we're not going to watch that. We're going to watch this clip instead of the Secretary of War signing this joint security declaration. He starts speaking around here.
Security declaration, affirming our relationships, respecting sovereignty, recognizing the strategic importance of this hemisphere, and declaring our intent to expand multilateral and bilateral cooperation to enhance security in the hemisphere, to cooperate on whole-of-government efforts on border security, countering narco-terrorism and trafficking, securing critical infrastructure, and other areas to be determined, advancing peace through strength, as was so eloquently said by so many speakers here. It means something to address future threats to our mutual interest and join together to combat narco-terrorism and other shared threats in the Western Hemisphere. Signed March 5th, the year of our Lord 2026, in English and Spanish. How about that?
Yeah, look at all the flags of all the countries behind them. A lot of countries went to this conference and signed that. Trump is actually meeting with those Latin American leaders this weekend. And Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, was not invited. Yeah. You can see Bukele right there. So there's the leader of Ecuador, where the U.S. just did that operation. Bolivia, Chile, Costa Rica, Argentina, Honduras, Panama, Paraguay, Trinidad. No Mexico. Guyana, Honduras. Yeah, no Mexico. No Mexico. All right. Now we can look at some chartios. Let's check out DXY. And DXY dropped quite a bit here, like just in the last bit. It crossed 99.30, and now we're back at 99. All right. How's USD CNH doing? How are the Chinese doing here? Okay, it's kind of in line correlation wise with the DXY. All good. How about the Mexican peso? It's holding up, but it's holding up a little worse. What about something like the euro dollar? Doing okay. I'm still in this trade. A 40 pip drawdown. Well, that was a 55 pip at its worst, but when I looked at it, it was like 40 around here. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I started the stream and it's now break even. I'm like, okay, I guess. We'll have to see if this actually fails or not. I may have to tighten up this stop if this is not actually going to end up being the low. I want to see improvement in the energy security of Europe for this trade to actually play out. And based on the analysis that we saw earlier, specifically with Finch coming through, and I can bring it up again, but I'll just read through the note real quick here. Finch says baseline expectation is that the conflict will be over in a month. within a month. It'll last less than a month, is what they said. And yeah, that's what Finch says. Yeah. But more and more people currently are setting the expectation that this energy crisis is not going to extend significantly past the end of March. Because otherwise, it's going to become a crisis. It's going to have huge ramifications for pretty much every country in the world's inflation. And it's going to especially piss off the Chinese because they just started their 15th 5-year plan. And the Chinese aren't going to be too happy about that, frankly. We can go ahead and check NQ. NQ, holding up, it's quite choppy. If we look at it on the daily, you can see it just go chop, 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 chop. And it's been chopping even since before the Operation Epic Fury started, but it's just been choppy ever since here, man. What about ES? Yeah, it's been chopping. We can check some other equity markets. We can check the Nikkei. The Nikkei has been falling like a brick here. Not great. The UK, fallen like a brick. The Euro area has also been fallen, but it seems to have found some buying pressure here. We'll see if that actually holds up or not. But this is not a good sign for Europe. France, their stock market is not doing great either. How about Germany? Germany seems to be holding up a bit better, but it's still not good. And this is Japan's Nikkei, the topics. Great. This is New Zealand's, and then this is Australia's. It's just all bad as far as global equity markets are concerned. A lot more choppiness on the FX side of things. A lot more choppiness. So all the major US dollar pairs are holding in at the moment. Aussie New Zealand has just been rocketing. Oh my god, for the month of March or February, it's up like 380 pips. What an insane move on the cross. Euro CAD is doing nothing the last 3 days here, but when the markets opened after the announcement of Operation Epic Fury, it dumped hard. It fell like 250 pips. That's kind of nutty for an FX pair. And then you have dollar Swissy. Dollar Swissy is appreciating, so franc is losing value there. Yuan, we just looked at that. Euro pound, that cross seems to be holding up okay in the last few days, but boy did it get hit hard. The pound did actually a lot better than euro, likely because of energy security related risks. DXY up and away. The CAD is been chop this whole time here. And then all the yen pairs seem to be also chopping. They've been doing pretty okay, especially when it was announced that when Operation Epic Fury took place, there was these huge jumps on all the yen pairs, and it seems like everything's been pared back or effectively gone sideways for all these yen pairs, except for the euro yen because of that energy security issue. Oh yeah, wasn't that a great old little hedge? And now we have gold. Gold is not doing too much. It's still got this nice positive drift to it. It has pulled back after Operation Epic Fury, but it's still in this. I mean, I look at it and I see a regression. So I'm going to go and get the regression drawing tool here. Fib fit. Maybe it's over here. Yep, there we go. There you go. So if this regression is expected to continue, we should probably see a high 50-200 handle sometime next week. That's just assuming the linear regression holds. A linear expectation. And then I still have a positive expectation here on oil. I mean, given all of the risks for oil getting worse, but even still looking at all the potential possibilities where oil production and gas production start coming back online, things, let's say, start to normalize as far as economic risks are concerned starting next week, well, oil will stop appreciating. It'll probably stay in the 80 handle for a bit, and it will probably stay there into maybe the middle of April, because it's going to take a while for more shipping containers to feel comfortable either going to these rerouted areas like what Saudi Arabia did, or to feel comfortable going through the strait, that they won't be attacked by Iran. So we'll have to see how this develops, but my expectation will be for higher oil prices until those concerns are more directly mitigated. And we can check out nat gas, at least in the US. It's done a whole lot of nothing. It's just been flat, flat, flat. And we can look at TTF, which is the one for Europe, and it's been going sideways the last couple of days. It's just been holding the current price, but I'd expect this to also drift higher for the same reasons as oil, and also have the same risk profile. Essentially, in the next week, things have to get handled and resolved for natural gas. At least the risk of Iranian attacks on commodity infrastructure getting mitigated so significantly that ships feel okay with starting the process of going back into the Persian Gulf and getting oil and natural gas out. And Lord knows, a lot of these countries, especially Iraq, really, really, really need that Persian Gulf to be safe and for the Strait of Hormuz to reopen in order for them to have their own stable economy. But a lot of other countries, by the end of not this week, but next week, are really going to be on the edge as far as oil storage and gas storage goes. So things need to get handled here, or else they're going to have no room to store all of this natural gas and oil that they're pulling out. And it might be an issue supply-wise. They might have to off-gas, maybe burn a bit more of this supply that they don't necessarily want to burn off. Which is why the Qatari had just shut off one of their largest natural gas facilities, like natural gas liquefaction facilities, because they don't want that cost. They don't want that cost. And that's one of the reasons why this is so high, because the Qataris turned off that liquefaction facility. We could check out silver. Silver is just doing a whole lot of nothing. It fell here after Operation Epic Fury, but it's been doing a whole lot of nothing since then. I believe AW1 is a commodities index, yeah. And the commodities index is just going up, 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 and away, and that's mostly due to oil. Oh, check that out. Coffee is actually kind of on a run right now. Coffee's been going down since the beginning of the year, and it's been slowly going lower for quite a while here. But yeah, now coffee is making a move. We'll skip bonds and Bitcoin. Hey, we're above 70K on Bitcoin. All right, cool. On to the next thing. Everyone who is saying that all this stuff with Iran and the mining and the hash rate of Iranian miners was going to impact Bitcoin so negatively, so terribly. No. Just no. If anything, Bitcoin has been one of the least volatile assets during this period. So Bitcoin's doing A-okay. Same thing it looks like with Litecoin, even less volatility. Ethereum doing A-okay. Solana doing A-okay. XRP doing A-okay. We can look at ADA, they're doing okay. And XMR doing A-okay. All the cryptos that we have here on the watch list are doing just fine. They actually have been quite low on the volatility side. Let's go ahead and collapse all of these. Collapse that. And I don't know, bring up BXY as the closing chart is now. That is everything I wanted to talk about today. The stream's gone on now for like an hour and a half. You know, when I used to do live streams every single day before, I would always go over an hour. I would always want to do less than 1 hour shows, but in order to cover all the geopolitics and then to do all the charting, and then if I wanted to go intraday and look, let's say, at ranges and do this kind of analysis day to day to day, you always end up going over an hour. That's just how that goes. Again, I always like it when people come and hang out, chat, make requests in the chat. Tomorrow, it will be a really great day for that, especially if you've been watching this far. I should definitely tell you tomorrow in Discord, we're going to be in the stage room on the Discord. Link to that if you want to join in is in the description. You just go to the WAP link and click on join the free Discord. Once you're in the Discord, there will be an event set up at the top of the Discord for tomorrow where we'll be in the stage chat, and after going over some basic stuff on stream, I'll go ahead and set the tone, set the topic, and open the stage for anyone who wants to raise their hand. Come onto the stage, say hi, hang out. These streams are still quite small, so all the participation I can get makes things a lot less boring for me, as much as it makes things less boring to watch. Not like I would say I'm boring to watch, but sometimes when I'm going through all this geopolitical stuff, I can't but help it, like, sometimes my eyes glaze over it. And it's like, okay, what's the important stuff here? What can I actually use to help set better trading expectations for myself here? And that's what I at least try to focus on. But when so many balls are up in the air with a geopolitical risk like Iran right now, you have to have your finger in a bunch of different pies to kind of keep track of what the next major development could be. It's a reason why I like to make sure I keep my finger on the pulse of a lot of these unions in many different countries. Because if you're not watching the unions in a lot of countries, like especially in France or Germany or the United States, a union strike can just kind of come out of nowhere for a major sector of the economy that goes on for much longer than expected. And it's a lot easier to position for those things if you know before the general market, let's say a month ahead of time before the strike starts, that a major union or a set of unions are planning to go on strike in 2 months, in a month, in a couple of weeks. It's really important to follow those events. Union strikes are a big deal for a lot of markets, and they move things. They certainly did help move things during the presidential election in 2024. About a month or so before Trump was getting elected, the I think, what is it? There were two groups going on strike. I think there was the United Auto Workers who were going on strike, and then there was the International Longshore Shippers Association or Union. There was a longshoresman union that was, the ILA was going on strike. And those two strikes were going on and had really serious ramifications. And then there was this big hurricane in Florida that happened. And the strike from the ILA actually was called off voluntarily to help assist Florida in emergency, facilitating all the emergency responses for the hurricane that hit, because it was a really bad hurricane. And then talks with the strike kept going on and going on and going on. And apparently Trump was friends with the leader of the ILA and his dad. An agreement apparently to end the strike was found with Trump, and then I believe there was a labor secretary of labor in the Biden administration that also did quite a lot of work on that front as well. Yeah. It's important to keep these things in mind and to remember these events so that then if, let's say, an event goes against you, you don't forget it and then have it happen to you again. It's really important that when something goes against you and then you find out why it goes against you as far as trading goes, that you learn, okay, how do I stop that from happening again in the future? And once you learn how to not make it happen again in the future, you can't forget it. Because if you forget it, guess what? You're going to have to relearn it again. So instead of using that opportunity to protect yourself for the next time there's a similar opportunity as a way to make money, or some money, to speculate, then, what are you doing? Remember it. Remember what happened. So then it doesn't happen to you again, and you can actually profit off your learned and lived experience, right? So don't forget important stuff. Very straightforward. Okay. I got my rant in for the day. I'm much happier now that I got my rant in for the day. And tomorrow we have outlooks to do, a lot of outlooks to go through and find. So I look forward to going through those outlooks. I 100% bet there's going to be a lot of monthly outlooks that come out, and just so much time going through a lot of monthly outlooks because so many of those reports are like 30, 50 pages. It's a lot of stuff to read. So I'm going to start the process of going through any reports that I get sent today and sent tomorrow. So I'm not going to be getting a whole lot of programming done. I'm like on the cusp, literally on the edge of getting that project I've been working on for the last 3-4 months out. And now we're going into the time of week where I need to sit down and go over hundreds and hundreds of pages of reports that get sent to go through and read about expectations of institutions, what they expect for different assets. And yeah, that information's in the Discord. It's all under the Outlooks channel. All those outlooks are considered marketing resources. So no proprietary research gets sent out. So if it's like something behind a portal of a bank's paywall or something, you're not getting it in this Discord, right? But if it's got a public-facing URL, we'll send out the URL. Like that's completely acceptable. Like, okay, go to this URL, the thing is here, do what you need to do, and that's that. Man, so it's gonna be a bit of work going through and rating all those reports. but it helps with setting expectations in a very significant fashion. Because sometimes when you go through all those different reports, different people cover different topics, or they cover the same topic, but from different points of view. So you end up getting a very holistic, generalized view of the different expectations that people have. And then you can, by reading what they say, figure out who sounds more reasonable or who has a more well thought out thesis, or who brought up a unique risk that no one else brought up. And that can be extraordinarily helpful. But doing this kind of work every single week takes time. And you have to be familiar with all the economic concepts, all the finance concepts ahead of time. But so long you keep at it every single week, you will learn all those concepts. It's kind of amazing how quickly people can get on the horse, in a sense, with this stuff. Because most people, in the first place, don't even know to look for this information at all. So I look forward to it, and I also look forward to getting over it, because I just want a few bits of information, because right now, with all the geopolitical events going on, what generally happens is when there are these large exogenous shock situations, when those outlooks are released, those outlooks are effectively the nominal consensus expectations for the week ahead, or the month ahead, or the quarter ahead, the year ahead, whatever. And then when you have a shock like Operation Epic Fury come in, it totally unravels all those assumptions made to create those expectations. So now all the assumptions have changed. And what makes someone actually a good analyst, in my opinion, is when they have the consensus expectation, if they know what the nominal expectations are, and then they get this new information about Operation Epic Fury coming down the pike, how do they update their own expectations with that new information? How do they anticipate the rest of the market is going to change, and how the consensus is going to change in response to that? And the more accurately and in line their change is with everyone else's change and expectations are, then overall, I'd expect that to be a win. The closer you are to setting expectations in line with what most people think is going to happen next, as soon as the new information comes in, I mean, that's kind of the essence of what you want in a responsive analyst who knows what they're doing. Man, I got another extra rant now. How great. How great. Okay. Well, we're now closer to 2 hours. Okay. Thank you guys very much for watching. I definitely enjoyed today's stream, especially the second half of it. And I will see you all in a bit. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be going over notes very likely tomorrow.